What's going on, y'all? It's Jamal from the 140 Plus Sports on Twitter. So I'm gonna break down some games today. Today is March 29th. We got a big NBA card today, and we got a couple college games from the tournament to if we want to break those down. I'll probably put that on another video for you guys, so you don't have to look at this one video for everything. I'm probably not going to break any hockey down because hockey is my least knowledgeable sport. And as long as I got NBA and college basketball out there, I see no point in betting a hockey or a baseball or any of that stuff. So first game on the board that I see is Indiana Pacers. They are visiting the Washington Wizards. I looked at this game a little bit earlier, so I kind of know where I'm going on this, and this is just advice. This is not a play. I'll probably have my official play or plays at the end of this video, so please watch it, soak up whatever you can, because I'm giving you guys what I'm using, what kind of mind frame I'm using to pick games. And I'll actually have a link to my Action Network. It's just a tracking app where I track my bets. That'll be in the description, as well as the link to my Twitter. So if you don't know me from there. All right. So Indiana Pacers visiting the Washington Wizards. When I saw this game initially, the first thing I like to look at is the team that is giving away points, which is the Indiana Pacers here. I like to see, on average, what are they beating teams by, just on average, because that's very important. We're at the point of the season where we know, for the most part, who is who. You know, if a team is winning or beating teams by 5 points a game, that's kind of where they are. They might have a game where they win by 30, but then they might have a game where they lose by 10. But on average, a team is winning by 5 points a game, or they're losing by 5 points a game. The difference between college basketball and the NBA is you're not going to see ridiculous points differentials in the NBA. I mean, the most you'll probably see is probably not 9, maybe 10 point differential. In college, you'll see a team wins on average by like 20-something points a game, like Gonzaga or Baylor or something like that. In the NBA, you're not going to see that. These are competitive teams. Regardless of the talent level, you're not going to blow everybody out by 20 and 30 points. Even the Utah Jazz are coming back down to earth right now. So with that said, the Indiana Pacers, they are a losing team. They're 21 and 23, which is below 500. And of course, with that, they have, got my tablet here. Of course, with that, they have a negative point. Actually, they have a positive point differential of 0.30. So they're barely beating teams. What I like to see with that, because I don't want to just use that as a barometer, I want to see what they've done in their recent games. So yeah, they opened up the season a little hot, then they got cold, and now they're trending upwards again. So the last 5 games, what do we have here? We see they've actually went 4-1 in their last 5 games, and I broke it down earlier. This is the one game that I did break down earlier, so I have these stats on hand. They are winning the last 5 games by an average of 5 points a game, right? With that said, they did have a loss in there by 27 points, and I believe that was to the Bucks. Yes, to the Bucks. So if a team has won 4 games out of the last 5, and they only have a point differential of 5 points a game, obviously that one loss was huge, which we see it was. It was a 27-point loss. So I'm not going to judge how they're going to do in this game by that one game, because outside of that one blip on the radar, they've actually performed pretty well. And also, what takes some of the edge out of the dog here, which is the Washington Wizards, is they are coming off of a win. If I'm going to bet a dog, I prefer, especially full game, if I'm going to bet a dog full game, I don't want to bet them coming off of a win. It takes the motivational edge away. Because a lot of these underdogs, especially a team like the Washington Wizards, who they had actually a stretch in February where they won, 7 out of 8 or something like that. In the month of March, they've only won 3 games. We're at the end of March here. We're on the 29th of March. They've won 3 games. Following those 2 losses, I believe they're losing games by an average of like 11 points a game or something like that. And it's only 2 losses, so take it with a grain of salt. Take it for what you want. But we've seen that this month they have been regressing. So do I think after a win, are they going to come to play today enough to catch this Indiana Pacers team that's won 4 out of 5 games? No, I think 5 points is not a lot of points here with the way the Indiana Pacers have been playing. They got Karis LeVert. He's in the lineup. He's gained some rhythm since being out with his injury. So I find value right here on the favorite. And it's one of the few times I'm an underdog better. I'm a contrarian better. So if I like a favorite, it's really because I see no value in taking the dog, which I don't here. Washington Wizards are a definite fade spot for me today. All right. So that's the one game I actually broke down before I left the house. I'm out running errands and I felt, go ahead and start this channel, man. I'm outside of Best Buy. I got to go in there and get some equipment. So next game we got, let's see, Pelicans and the Celtics. So again, we got the favorite. Every bet that I take is based on the favorite. Because the favorite is the one giving away points. I want to know, are you worth, me giving points away or not? How do you perform in this spot? So you got the Celtics who are at 500, just slightly better than the Celtics, and you got this Pelicans team that's up and down. They are coming off of a loss, I believe. Let's see. Actually, no, they're coming off of a win versus Dallas. Dallas didn't have Luka or Kristaps Porzingis in that game. So, like I said, if you want to take a dog, to me, I don't like taking dogs unless they're coming off of losses. It takes the motivational edge away. But that's not all I look at here. We're seeing the Celtics. They've won 3 out of the last 5. The last game was against the Oklahoma City Thunder. I did take the Oklahoma City Thunder in that game. However, and they were up, I believe going into the fourth quarter, they were up nicely, maybe like 6 or 7 points. But they lost Lou Dort, which without Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Al Horford, that's really their best player. He's the best defender on the team. He might be top 3 best perimeter defender in the game right now. And who do the Celtics have? They have nothing but perimeter scorers. So going into the third quarter, they were up. They lost them. I don't know exactly when they lost them because I was watching so many different games. I got the notification sometime at the beginning of the fourth quarter. So they could have lost them at the end of the third quarter. They could have lost them at the beginning of the fourth quarter. But at that point is when everything went downhill for the Oklahoma City Thunder, who were underdogs of, I believe, 6.5 points in that game. So it is what it is. So do I want to count that game for the Celtics? I can, but I think I had the right call in that game, even though it lost. So, I mean, it is what it is. Pelicans, can you trust them coming off of a win? I suppose. They are 3-5 in their last, 3-2 in the last 5. So, looking at this game, it's probably a stay away for me. One thing for the Celtics, they are going to be without Jaylen Brown today. And they are going to be, they're going to be playing Evan Fournier. I don't know if he's coming off the bench or if he's going to be starting, but what we do know is he's not going to learn the playbook in one game. So if he's going to come in and play a monumental role, like if he's going to come in and start today, it's probably a fade spot. Same thing that happened when the Chicago Bulls started Nikola Vucevic, that's our name, when they started Nikola Vucevic the other day and got blasted by the Spurs. These guys that are coming in today, who are playing their first games today, don't look for everything to be all peachy and for them to know the playbook and all that. I mean, the one exception is if a guy is coming to a team where he's played for the coach before and he knows everything to do because he has experience with the coaching staff. We've seen that before. But most of the time, it's not going to work out the way you think. And in this case, you got the Boston Celtics who barely beating teams by about a point a game. And they're coming off of a blowout victory, right? So even though the edge is not necessarily there for the dog, it's not there for the winning team either with coming off of, I think, a 17-point victory. I lean here towards the Pelicans, especially first half, since they are coming off of a victory. I expect the Celtics to come out, especially if Evan Fournier does come out in the starting lineup. I expect there to be a little bit of bumps in the first half. In the second half, maybe he's a little bit more familiar, but it's probably a fade spot full game. But for me, the sure way I would bet on this game is to take the Pelicans first half. You'll probably get +1. They're not going to give you too many points on that, especially if the books know that's where the value is. You'll see a +1. If you see a +1.5, you might. That is a little bit alarming, but it's not enough to make me. If I was going to bet this game, if I really like that side, to stay on that side. I believe that is the right side on this game. So I lean Pelicans first half. All right, so gonna move on to my next game, which is Minnesota and Brooklyn. Minnesota finally got another win under their belt versus the Houston Rockets. So in this game, and let's see something. Obviously, the Nets are a much better team. They're only beating teams by about 4 points a game. And you have in this game a spread of 11. For me to bet a spread of 11 in a game, there has to be some added motivation there. I'm not just going to look at the stats and say this team is better than this team and they should win by that much, especially when the team is only beating teams by about 4 points a game. Can the Minnesota Timberwolves come to play here? Sure. If there's some kind of extra added motivation, but obviously they're not that good of a team. One thing I am looking at in this game is the Minnesota Timberwolves do have a really good history against the Brooklyn Nets. Of course, that wasn't the Brooklyn Nets that had Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, James Harden. Now they got LaMarcus Aldridge, Blake Griffin. It's not the same team, so can you use that? I would use it if it was the same coaching staff, because maybe one coach just has another coach's number, knows what he's going to do. Everything is different in this game. So I'm not really going to use the history as much as I would in some other matchups. Last 5 games, Minnesota Timberwolves have only won one game. Like I stated, was the Houston Rockets, and they were down big in that game, and they just. I think the Houston Rockets, they didn't score for like the last 7 minutes of that game. They were up by 20-something. In the next game, the Houston Rockets came and did the same thing, but they didn't let up. They kept the lead, which is good. So Minnesota Timberwolves, can we trust them at +11? For me, I would lean here towards the Brooklyn Nets. They do struggle against the Detroit Pistons. They are 0-3 against the spread this year. Against the Detroit Pistons. I've taken them twice against the Detroit Pistons, and I failed. So I don't know what it is about the Detroit Pistons, but this team cannot beat them convincingly. But when it comes to everybody else, they do tend to play a lot better. I don't know if they're going to get up for this game. Kyrie Irving is back after missing a couple games. I don't know what he missed those games for. It said it was a personal issue. You never know with that guy. So he's coming back today. Is that going to help him? Is it going to throw off any rhythm? I doubt it's going to throw off any rhythm since, they've already built chemistry with him. And he's only been gone for a couple of days. And he's the kind of guy who can come in and just fit right in. If I were to take a game here, take a play here, probably the Brooklyn Nets first half. I could see them going up big in this game and possibly letting off the pedal. I don't see how the Minnesota Timberwolves are going to keep up with this. James Harden has a tendency to come out and jerk off a game, just turning the ball over. Like, I think he just realized that, whenever I want to turn it on against this team, I can, and there's nothing they can do. So I'm just going to just play down to their level for 3 quarters, and then when it's time to win the game, I will. James Harden does that a lot. He did that against the Pistons the other day. He did it against the Pistons another time when I bet against them. So it's a tough. You really got to know, is James Harden, who controls the offense, is he going to care about this game? I don't know. They've only covered 1 game in the last 5 games, and you're giving it's 11 points. It's too much. I'm staying away. If you want to put your money on that game, you go ahead. We're going to move on to the next game here. Miami and New York. What I found interesting about this game is New York is the favorites, which is weird because, not New York. Miami is the favorite, which is weird because New York actually has a better record. Now, I get it. Miami won last year. They were in the finals, right? Close to winning if they didn't have any injuries. I actually picked them to beat the Lakers, but just everything fell apart, and one guy after the other. Before you say anything, I actually picked them in the previous 2 series. Picked them against the Milwaukee Bucks, and I believe, who did they play before that? Maybe the Celtics. It was somebody else they were underdogs against. So I get it. Miami has this reputation coming into this season, and it's still carrying on into this game. If I were to look at this line based on what I know about this season, it looks like a definite trap. Like, what does Vegas know that I don't know? Why are they giving the Knicks 4 points against the struggling Miami Heat? Miami Heat haven't won. I don't know. I'm not even going to go back. The last 5 games, they have not won and they have not covered. So theoretically, you want to take the underdog here. New York has covered the last and won the last 3. So they're 3-0 against the spread, 3-0 straight up in their last 3 games. So actually they're 4-5 in their last 4-1 in their last 5 games. So the value here is on the New York Knicks and the 4 points. If Miami is going to win, I think they might eke out a win in the last minute or so by a couple points. But if I don't want to overthink this one. Right now, the value is on the dog. They're giving you those points. If you lose this game, you lose it. But the value is on the dog here. Miami Heat was down big against Charlotte. They lost the game against Portland. They lost against Phoenix. They lost twice against Indiana. They're not showing any fight, even in revenge spots. So I don't know how I can put my money on the Miami Heat. If I'm going to go anywhere on this game, it's going to be on the New York Knicks. Probably first half just to play it safe, because there's a possibility that Miami comes out slow and gets some momentum in the second half. 48 minutes is a very long time to take a game. And the only way I would fade Miami Heat here is if they're coming off of a big win after the trending downward. So let's say they won their last game by 20 points. Then it's a definite fade spot full game. I don't trust them to put together 2 strong performances in a row with the way they're playing. As of right now, what I would count on is them entering into this game slowly. All right, so I lean the New York Knicks first half. You'll probably get a +2 out there. If the books really want to be stingy, maybe a +1.5. If they don't have any faith in the Knicks, you might get a 2.5 at 4. I'm looking at it at -4 for Miami Heat, so at +4, they'll probably throw out a +2. That's what I would expect. I haven't looked, so I'm just going through these games. Gonna move on to the next game, and I have to move quick because there's I don't know, it's like 11 games today. That's crazy. We want to find the best value here. So we got Detroit and Toronto. Toronto played yesterday. I actually bet on them. What was it? I bet on them full game, and then Kyle Lowry was scratched out. So what I do, if it's a late scratch, I'll take it. And they're getting points, and the team that they're playing, if the point differential matches up with how I've told you guys how I bet, I'll take the team in the first quarter. So that's what I did. I ended up taking Toronto in the first quarter, which ended up cashing for me. Now they're playing the Detroit Pistons. You know, one thing I learned about the Detroit Pistons is they don't win a lot of games, but they compete. So it's hard to take anybody who's getting more than 5 or 6 points against them. In this game, Raptors are in a back-to-back spot, and I'm showing -3. Maybe that's the opening number, but that's what I'm showing, -3 in this game. Toronto Raptors are a losing team. They're 18-28. So to be a -3 on a back-to-back spot, I'm not sure if Kyle Lowry is playing. He might play, and that might be why they are -3 in this game. But they're losing games by less than a point, by about 0.09 points a game. A little bit better, or much better than the Detroit Pistons, who are losing games by almost 4 points a game. So, want to look at the history here. In the last 10, Toronto is 5-5 against this team, so it's nothing convincing. They're only beating Detroit by about a point over the last 10. Pretty much neck and neck. Both teams, I believe, are coming off of a loss. Detroit Pistons have had a better recent history. In their last 5, they've covered 3 of those games. And they are coming off of a loss. So I don't know if you want to trust the Raptors in this spot. Like, I believe before you run, you have to walk. You know, and before you walk, you have to crawl. I don't think they're just going to come out firing on all cylinders. But when you have a point spread of 3, anything can happen. I mean, a late foul could crush your bet if you're on the Pistons. So it's not convincing enough for me to bet. If I lean away, it's another first half play. It's probably the Pistons first half on this one. But I don't see anything convincing enough for me to fade the Toronto Raptors. They're a ticking time bomb. This team is much better than what we've seen, even at this stage of the regular season, which we're at 40-something games in. Like the Miami Heat, they're much better than what their record is, and they're a ticking time bomb waiting to explode. I actually picked them in that one game that they won in their last 5, which is Denver. Well, I said, you know, something's funny about that. It looked like a trap. It really did, and they blew their doors off. So this team is capable of that. Are they going to show that against the Detroit Pistons? I think when you have a team that's much better than what they are, they're more likely to show how good they are against a team they're not supposed to beat, you know, like the Denver Nuggets, you know, the Brooklyn Nets. They're not going to, I don't think they're going to explode against a team that we think that they're capable of beating. And it's always a team that we don't think they're going to beat. You know, that's who they get up for. And that's who they could play with. They played with Portland yesterday. Portland is performing much better than they are. And they played with them. They had the lead most of the game. See? But when you're Portland is relentless. That's a good team over there, especially with C.J. McCollum. A lot of people talk about Dame Lillard. C.J. McCollum is a baller. All right, so that's a tough team, and they played with them, but they're not ready for that right now. They got to get past the Detroit Pistons of the world in order to beat the Portland Trail Blazers. So We're gonna move. I don't really have anything for this game. Again, if a gun to my head, Detroit Pistons first half, but there's nothing here that I see enough to put my money on. Next game, we're gonna go Memphis Grizzlies, Houston Rockets. Memphis Grizzlies are performing better as of late. They did run into the Utah Jazz at home. The Utah Jazz are like, I want to say like 15-4 against the spread at home, something like that. They're crazy team to bet against in Utah. So I'm not going to hold that against the Memphis Grizzlies. And they even covered one of those games. I knew they were. I figured they weren't going to cover the second game just because of the odds of covering is very low with how the Utah Jazz perform at home. So if you have a time where a team is leading most of the game big and then they drop the ball at the end of the game, especially if they lose the game, you can guarantee that if they get a big lead in the next game, they're not going to let that happen. That's what happened with the Houston Rockets when they played the Minnesota Timberwolves. So what happened in the first game against the Grizzlies is the Utah Jazz had a big lead. They let down at the end, and Grizzlies almost came back and won that game. In the next game, they had the lead, and they said, no, we're not doing that again. This is what we did last game. We're not going to do this. We're going to do something different this game. So, Houston Rockets, I honestly think the Houston Rockets, actually, no, they're coming off of a win, like a 22-point win against the Minnesota Timberwolves, game I just talked about. Sometimes I lose track of when these games were. So I'm definitely not taking the Houston Rockets here. With the Grizzlies coming off of a loss, what's the line here? The line is -8, it looks like. That's a lot of points for the Grizzlies. Are they capable of doing that? Yes. But especially off of a loss, they are. But it's not something I'm going to take. I do lean that way. I do think they are capable of coming out here and smacking the Houston Rockets. But 8 points is just too much for a team that's below 500 to be taking. Houston Rockets have Kelly, I don't know how to say his last name, Olynyk, however you say it. They've also, who else did they pick up? Pick up Avery Bradley, but I think he's hurt. But also addition by subtraction by getting rid of Oladipo. I don't really like Oladipo. A lot of people hear me on Twitter talk about him. I am not a fan of that guy. And I'm not a fan of a lot of the Rockets players, but they got Kevin Porter Jr. back from his short stint injury. So, you know, the team, they have nothing to lose. They're going to come out guns blazing. Anything can happen in the final minutes of this game. If this was a line similar to the Indiana Pacers versus Washington Wizards, that would be something I can look at, which is I think was 5. But at 8, I'm not touching this game. I lean the Grizzlies, but it's not enough for me to take it. Going to the next game. Dallas and OKC. I'm not sure who's playing in this game. Luka has missed the last few games, and they rested Kristaps Porzingis in the last game. I don't think it was any injury, just back-to-back spot. Didn't want to play him. Luka's injury might be more serious since he did sit both games. Initially, I thought maybe they just wanted to rest him in the first of the back-to-back, but he ended up missing both games, so maybe his injury is serious. So I don't know who's going to be playing in this game, but coming off of a loss, and I think these two teams just played recently, and Dallas blew the doors. Oh, no, I'm tripping. I'm thinking it's 138. Dallas actually lost to this team, so it's possible that they come back in a revenge spot and smack them, you know. They lost in OKC on March 11th. I got to go back and see who played in that game. But really, this game just hinges on who's playing. Is Lou Dort going to play? Like I said, he went down in the fourth quarter, or he went down late in the last game. I think he had concussion-like symptoms or something. You know he's not going to play with concussion-like symptoms. It's going to be 2 or 3 games that he's probably going to be out. So this game, it really just hinges on who's playing. I think Dallas is capable of blowing the doors off of OKC. Dallas is the road team here. They've won 6 of the last 4 against OKC and covered 7 of the last 3. So odds are pointing towards Dallas covering this game. But like I said, I got to know who's playing in it. I'm not going to give a call on this game. I think if Luka and Kristaps play, it's worth a shot. But at 11.5, that's a big line, and I think it's big. I would say it's big for a reason, because I think they're going to lay the hammer on this team. They just lost to them this month, so 11.5 is a lot. And if that is the line right now, something tells me that Luka and Kristaps is playing. There's no way that line is going to be 11.5 with just Luka or just Luka out and Kristaps in. So lean Dallas full game. But as you can see, I'm going through all these games. I haven't found I like the Pacers spot because they are in rhythm. That's the one team that's a favorite here that is coming into this game in rhythm, that's facing a dog that isn't in rhythm, that is coming off of a win. That's a favorable spot for the Indiana Pacers. I like that spot. I'm probably going to play that. So but most of these teams are Miami Heat, not in rhythm. Who else was it? Grizzlies coming off of a couple losses. Brooklyn, whatever. I don't trust them. Boston, they are in a little bit of rhythm coming into this one, but no Jaylen Brown, and they're going to play Evan Fournier. I don't know what his role is going to be today. If he comes in starting, I think it's a fade spot first half for the Pelicans. Probably a half unit play. Next game, we're going to go on to the next game. I don't want to spend too much time on this game. Sacramento and San Antonio. Let's see what we got here. Sacramento Kings are actually in a lot of rhythm. They have covered 3 of the last 4 and won 4 of the last 5. So, and San Antonio Spurs, which are the favorites, and this is what I was talking about, a team that's very cold, that's coming off of a win, which is the San Antonio Spurs, and they're giving away 2.5 points here. So, just from the surface value, this is a great fade spot great fade spot of the Spurs. History. Spurs have won 6 of the last 4, but only covered 4 of the last 6. They did win the last game. That was last year in July. So this team hasn't played since last season. In San Antonio, a little bit of a teeter-totter effect. San Antonio doesn't dominate this team in any spot. I lean the Sacramento Kings here. They're coming in hot. And the San Antonio Spurs, can I really trust? They were up big for the San Antonio Spurs, the way they've been playing, for them to dominate a team all game like they did the Chicago Bulls. Everything has to be going right. Can you take a struggling team, or can you trust a struggling team to play that way twice in a row? I can't. I think they're going to drop the ball here. If they do win, they're going to win late. But I can see them coming into this game missing a lot of shots that they made last game against a team that's coming in on fire. So I like the Sacramento Kings here. The Spurs have a point differential of almost negative 1 point a game. So, like I say, something goes up, it must come down. They just blew out a team. What's the odds of them doing that twice in a row? Very low. So this is a game I could trust full game. I think the Kings are going to play them tough all game. I trust the 2.5. I'm going to lock that up. Plus 2.5 or whatever the line is. If get a +3 or +2. I think they can win this game. So I'm going to make that an official play here. Sacramento Kings plus 2.5. Lock that up. I'm going to take the Indiana Pacers as well, -5. Lock that one up as well. Move around to Cleveland, Utah. There's no way I can take Cleveland here. I'll tell you that off top. They actually put up a good fight against the Kings. I actually took Cleveland against the Kings. They put up a good fight all game. Actually, they were up with like a second to go, and Harrison Barnes hit that last shot. Now, how does that affect these young players coming into this game where they just want to win a game and they almost had it and they let it go at the end? Do they come into this game motivated, or do they come in this game discouraged? I don't know. But this is the wrong team to play right now. I mean, Utah Jazz at home. I don't know what they're winning by at home. I would assume it's over 10 points. And you're getting how many points in this game? Oh, 16. Stay away. I can't take an NBA game at that spread. I'm sorry. Can't do it unless there's some super added motivation. A former player, somebody from the Cavs now plays for the Jazz, which if that is the case, if you want to consider Clarkson, who plays a monumental role for the Jazz. I don't know how much he cares at this point. That was last year. He probably played them a couple times last year. So I don't know. I can't take a 16, but I'm not going to take the Cavs here. It's not something I trust. I'm not going to spend too much time on this game. The Cavs have covered 3 of the last 5 games, but none of them have been back-to-back spots. They did push one game, so they are competing. So Lane, Cleveland here, no play for me. Especially, lean Cleveland here, full game, 16, but I'm not taking it. Move on to the next game. Got Chicago and Golden State. I am a Golden State Warrior fan, born in Oakland, born and raised in Oakland, raised not too far from where the Warriors were playing. They are terrible right now. But with that said, they're terrible without Steph Curry. He is questionable today. So I don't know if we're going to get him or not. The line is +1 for the Warriors, so indications are he's probably going to play. But I can't trust him. I don't know if I could trust the Warriors right now. They got to learn to... Well, I'm not going to say they got to learn to play with Steph Curry again, but he has been out for like 3 games, I believe. So, are they? Do they have a chance, especially with Wiseman? With Wiseman starting the first quarters, one thing I've noticed is we open up games very, very slow. I don't know what I can go. I don't know how I can go back and track it, but I don't think there's a single first quarter we've covered with Wiseman in the lineup, starting in the lineup. So it's possible with the Bulls coming in off of that big loss to the Spurs. It's possible they open up a can in the first quarter, and they were down big to the Spurs. The game was actually closer. The game was actually out of reach until the end. So the Spurs technically let off. Either they let off, or maybe Chicago figured something out at the end of the game. Maybe it was the bench players who were more comfortable playing with each other. They came in and closed the gap a little bit. But for the most part, that game was out of reach. I expect them to come in with a little more focus. I don't like that they are favorites here. Bulls are actually worse than the Warriors record-wise. And the Warriors have lost like 4 or 5 games in a row. So they're coming into this one pretty cold. So to expect them... The one knock against the Bulls is Vucevic, and has he gotten any rhythm in the last game? Are they going to play a little bit better? Do they know where he fits? Does he know where he fits? That's one thing I would be worrying about today if I'm betting on the Chicago Bulls. But I think a first quarter spot here, if Wiseman is going to be in the first quarter, start the first quarter, and if Steph Curry comes back. Like I said, team players don't just come back after missing 3 or 4 games firing on all cylinders most of the time. Sometimes it takes a little bit of an adjustment, a couple of quarters to come in and actually play get in some little bit of rhythm to compete in the game. So it's possible. I like the Chicago Bulls first quarter here. Maybe a half unit on that. But I'm gonna move on to the next game. Hold on. Let me see one thing really quick. Oh shoot. Well, this is another thing I want to say. Golden State Warriors have won 9 of the last 10 games versus this team. But again, we're talking about KD, Steph, Clay, Livingston, Iguodala, all these guys playing. They probably did play last year. Yeah, we got a December game in there. Oh, they played once last year. So they played already. Actually, they played this season. The Warriors beat them in Chicago by 1. And last season when the Warriors were struggling, they split games, it looks like. No, Warriors won both. That's interesting. So I definitely can't take Chicago full game. I mean, the history says that Chicago struggles against this team. And the Warriors, if you know, last year, they were worse than they are this year. So the fact that they beat them twice last year with that roster, maybe it's just one of those teams that has their number. But I do think I cannot trust the Warriors in the first quarter when they start Wiseman. If you don't want to bet it, just watch it tonight. See what happens. You'll see what I'm saying. It's almost always a fade spot in the first quarter. All right, so I'm going to move on to the next game. I'm probably going to, if you want to know what I'm officially on, go to my action. I'll link it down below so you guys can see exactly what I'm on and how much I'm putting on unit-wise. All right, so we're going to move on to the next one. This is the last game on the card. The Los Angeles Clippers against the Milwaukee Bucks. Now, the Los Angeles Clippers just came off of a game against the Philadelphia 76ers. Surface value is, no Embiid, any of that. But I don't think they were playing the 76ers as much as they were playing Doc Rivers. They wanted to win that game badly. Everybody was a go. They didn't have Rondo, who just got traded there. But everybody else, and no Patrick Beverley, I don't think. But for the most part, they came to that game to play and to beat the 76ers and Doc Rivers, right? So they won that game. The Clippers are gaining momentum. I mean, for a while, they were a teeter-totter team who was winning every other game. But they're coming into this game. They've won the last 5 and covered the last 5. Milwaukee Bucks lost the last one to the Knicks. They didn't have Giannis in that game. They've only covered 1 of the last 5 games. We got a short line here. And what I mean by a short line, when I say a short line, it's a line that's less than what the team that's favored wins by. So you have the line is 2.5, and the team that is favored has a point differential greater than that. So the Clippers are beating teams by, it looks like, 6.5 points around there a game. And they're coming into this one hot. And the line is shorter than their point differential. So for me, I look at something like that and I say, okay, this is a definite, this is a spot where I'm definitely looking at the Los Angeles Clippers and the 2.5 points. The value, by saying short line, the value is on the Clippers here and the 2.5 points. Can't trust the Milwaukee Bucks coming in here. Their history, Milwaukee has won 6 of the last 4. They won the game this year in February 21st. So that wasn't that long ago. This is a revenge spot for the Clippers. Clippers have covered 5 of the last 9 games against this team. So this is a nice spot. I like this spot for the Clippers, especially being at home. The Clippers do have a positive record against this team in LA. So I like the Clippers here. That's probably going to be a play that I like. Some days I have 4 or 5 plays. Some days I might only have 1. You know, I know what I used to bet, and that's all I'm going to bet. I don't want to I don't want to be a gunslinger and just start taking everything just because I have some house money to play with. I've been doing very well over the last couple months. This week, I've lost a little bit, but considering how much I've been winning, you got to understand you're going to give some back. Losing helps you sharpen yourself. If I weren't to lose, I would get reckless, and then when I do finally lose, it would be a big loss. You have to take the little losses, and that is going to help you refocus, go back to the drawing board. So this week, I've just gone back to the drawing board and say, hey, when I was winning, what was I doing when I was winning those games? You know what I'm saying? So I've kind of refocused what I consider value. Stop taking some of the bullshit games that I was taking. Let's get back and refocus. If I don't find anything I like today, I live with that. If I do, if all 11 games have an angle, hey, I'll throw a half unit on all 11 games. I don't want to murder my bankroll, but you know, if the value's there, you take the game. You know what I'm saying? So in this one, I like the Los Angeles Clippers. Revenge spot. They're on fire coming into this game. They're trending upwards. Milwaukee Bucks, they are trending downwards. I like this spot, man. So just to recap what I'm on today, I like the Indiana Pacers -5. I'm going to throw a half unit on the Pelicans first half. I like, what was the other one? Oh, Sacramento Kings and +2.5. Chicago first quarter half unit. And I like the Los Angeles Clippers in at 2.5 points. So good luck today. Thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to hit the subscribe and the bell so you can get notified for any upcoming videos. Let's get it, y'all. Let's get it.